What does it mean to cancel a policy? I started whispering during my lunch break at work after finding my voice was unintentionally loud on a phone call. I didn't make any such arrangements. I was puzzled and frustrated. My mind went blank. The insurance company representative on the other end of the line, a woman, remained calm in contrast to my distress. According to our records, we received a request for policy cancellation from your end, and the procedure has been completed. I had been subscribed to a savings-oriented life insurance policy. My sister-in-law Rachel was an insurance agent, and with her job's demanding quotas, she had persuaded me to get an insurance policy that was more expensive than the market rate. I'm Stella. I'm a 40-year-old office worker, living in an apartment with my husband and daughter. Today has been a tough day right from the start. My husband announced he was going on an overnight business trip as soon as he woke up and started packing his bags. Our daughter, Amy, began fussing over her missing math textbook. Amy is only in first grade, so her need for help is expected. But when my husband starts fussing about his missing travel bag and new socks, it can be quite a handful. I've been contemplating divorce for a while, due to our relationship being on the rocks for the past year, and this kind of thing just adds to the irritation. Why don't you both prepare the day before? I couldn't help but say it out loud. Amy obediently apologized and promised to be more careful next time, to which I replied, "That's okay, honey. I should have helped you check it yesterday. I'm sorry." My husband, however, was different.
"Amy's still young. If you had taken care of everything, she wouldn't be in this mess. And if you had bought me new socks, I wouldn't be complaining like this."
I was furious at his petty complaints. "I had no idea about your business trip. There are freshly laundered socks in the drawer. Isn't that okay?"
"I like to wear brand new socks when I'm on a business trip."
What's with that weird fixation? I thought so, but I kept my thoughts to myself. He goes on these overnight business trips maybe once every few months. His company must have scheduled it in advance, he just didn't bother telling me. If he needed new socks, he could have bought them by himself, or at least told me ahead of time. Amy looked like she was about to cry and said, "Mom, Dad, stop arguing." So I turned to her and said, "I'm sorry, Amy, it's all right. Let's find your textbook together." My husband resumed his packing in silence, and I helped Amy with her backpack. I sneaked a glance at him and noticed he was packing more casual clothes instead of his usual business attire. Is he cheating again? Something felt off. He has cheated on me twice before. The first time was right before Amy was born. I thought about divorce then, but he begged and cried for forgiveness, even getting our in-laws involved. My mother-in-law pleaded with me to stay with her son, and my sister-in-law Rachel implored me not to abandon her brother, so I decided against the divorce. But then, last year, he cheated on me again. It was the same as before, a girl he met on a dating app. My husband is the type to blurt out whatever comes to his mind, and his actions are quite transparent. He thinks he's keeping his actions secret, but as far as I'm concerned, it's almost as if he wasn't even trying to hide anything. In an instant, he's busted, and there he is again, apologizing profusely while weeping. Even though he usually struts around with such arrogance, seeing him crying with his nose running is just pitiful. I swear, if there's another issue, we're done, I declared to my husband, made him fill out the divorce papers, transferred all of our savings into my account, and though I forgave him, any love I had has completely vanished. My husband always puts himself first. I can't forgive him for not caring for our daughter Amy, or spending time with her, but I plan to endure until Amy gets a bit older before getting a divorce. In the end, Amy's math textbook was easily found inside her backpack. Amy left for school full of joy, but I was completely drained from the morning ordeal. I didn't have time to prepare my packed lunch, so I went to a deli near my office during my lunch break. That's when a poster from an insurance company caught my eye, and I suddenly remembered that my policy was the kind where you receive a celebratory cashback after a certain period. I think it should be deposited any time now. I'm paying a hefty premium every month after all. Without such little joys, I wouldn't be able to continue. I wonder what I'll use the money for once it comes in. I could buy Amy some new fall clothes. I was starting to feel a little excited. With a spring in my step, I dropped by the bank to update my passbook and found that not only was there no celebration money, but this month's insurance premium hadn't been deducted yet. Huh? That's strange. Isn't the premium supposed to be deducted the same month I received the bonus? Initially, I was simply baffled, but recalling my husband's shady actions this morning, I had a bad feeling and decided to call the insurance company. Turns out Rachel, my sister-in-law, was off for the day. Another woman picked up and filled me in, revealing the cancellation of my policy. She said the cancellation fee had already been paid, but I didn't see any such deposit in my account. The lady on the phone kept insisting that all paperwork was in order and that the insurance company had done everything by the book. It would be a huge issue if the policy was canceled without my consent. It felt like she was indirectly implying that the insurance company wasn't at fault. Let me make this very clear. I had absolutely no intention of canceling my policy. I'll check with Rachel and my husband, but you at the insurance company better confirm with Rachel too. I stuck it to them, then hung up. Before I knew it, lunch break was almost over. I didn't even have time to eat the lunch I'd brought from the deli, but my appetite was gone anyway, and I had other matters to attend to. I asked my boss if I could leave early, then I got down to completing the remainder of my work. I left the office a bit earlier than usual and immediately called my husband's cell phone. If he really was busy working and couldn't answer the call, that's just how it would have to be.
Stella, why are you calling me? I'm at work.
After a few rings, my husband picked up the phone. Despite grumbling that he was at work, there was upbeat, merry music playing in the background. I wondered why my husband thought he wouldn't get caught. This is absurd. I'm sorry about that. Hey, my life insurance was canceled without my consent, and there's no cash value. Do you know anything about this? I'm thinking I might have been scammed, and I'm considering going to the police.
What? The police? What the hell are you thinking? It was me, okay?
I had suspected it was the work of my husband and Rachel, so I exaggerated my claims. My husband was startled and immediately confessed. I was somewhat relieved, but my anger began to rise. Oh, really? It was you. Where's the cash value then?
I used it to support my mom.
Support? Did something happen to my mother-in-law? Did she suddenly need money?
No, she just said she wanted to take a family trip to the holiday resorts every now and then.
A trip? I was surprised at the unexpected words. You canceled my life insurance without my consent for something like that? You used it for travel expenses? The business trip was a lie?
Yeah, I'm the beneficiary, so I don't see a problem. We're all going to stay in a luxury hotel. I'm in the lobby right now, and there's an amazing chandelier.
Maybe he thought it was okay to open up because he got caught already. My husband bragged in an excited tone. What the heck? I have a complaint. I have a lot of complaints. Why did you cancel without my consent? I'm the one paying the premium for my own salary, right? You guys should be able to afford your own travel expenses.
Aw, shut up. After all, if something happens to you, I'm the one who gets the money. So it's my money. You're healthy and you're not going to die anytime soon. You can just take out another policy.
I can't understand my husband's arguments at all. But the conditions change as you get older and the insurance premiums get higher. Do you really not understand that?
Well, I'm not the one who's paying.
I had a headache at my husband's irresponsible words. Do your parents and Rachel know that you canceled my life insurance without my consent? Didn't my father-in-law say anything? Rachel is obviously an accomplice. You and Rachel forged my handwriting and stamped it, right?
Well, yeah. My mom and dad were happy and said it was a good idea. After all, you're the one holding all our money, so it's all your fault. I want to take a break and have some fun once in a while. It's okay, right? We came on a family trip and everyone's happy.
The family you're talking about includes your father and mother and Rachel, right? Why aren't Amy and I included? Isn't your family Amy and me? Insurance is for emergencies, and I'd be happier if I didn't have to use it. Shouldn't you consult me first if you want to support travel expenses?
Because you would definitely say no. You and Amy are always together, so it's okay to be with the family for a change. And besides, Rachel said she wanted to take out a new life insurance policy for you, so I thought it was like killing two birds with one stone.
That's just for you guys, huh? Unbelievable. You don't want to admit something because it's considered bad? What an excuse. Aren't you embarrassed behaving like grade schoolers?
You're making me not want to talk by getting angry like this. What a pain in the ass. If you keep up this bickering, I wouldn't mind getting a divorce. I bet you couldn't pull it off.
Perhaps he's become too emboldened being in a tourist spot. My husband sounds more assertive than usual. Understood. I hung up the phone. Brace yourself. I'll get back at my in-laws and my husband for all of this. I murmured to myself. My patience is at its end. My husband has been underestimating me because I've always forgiven him, even though he kept threatening to divorce. I had thought that my in-laws were normal people, and Rachel wasn't a bad person, despite her insistence on pushing for a high life insurance policy. But normal, sensible people wouldn't unilaterally cancel their daughter-in-law's life insurance and misuse the money. This is what I get for marrying into this family. I'll cut them all off. I immediately headed to the court. I always kept the divorce papers my husband had filled out in my bag like a talisman. I submitted the divorce papers right away, then picked up my daughter Amy from the after-school program. On our way home, I told Amy about the divorce. Amy was surprised, but after explaining carefully, she accepted it. When we got home, Amy asked,
"So, Dad isn't coming back home anymore?"
"Your dad won't be back tonight because he's on a business trip. We're getting divorced, so we're going to live separately, but we still need to prepare for that." I answered carefully, not understanding Amy's question.
"Then let's start packing right away. Hurry."
"Huh? What's going on?"
"Well, you're breaking up with Dad, right? You don't have to cry anymore. I don't like him because he's always mad."
"Wait, Amy, did you always try to stop us from fighting because you didn't want me to be sad?"
"Of course."
I had intended not to divorce for Amy's sake, but it seems she had been putting up with this situation all this time. The reason why Amy was always trying to intervene in our fights was simply because she was worried about me.
"Dad never plays with me, even on his days off, and he tells me to go away whenever I talk to him. He only uses me when he wants to say something mean to you like this morning. I've always been sad because I love you, Mom."
Amy smiled slightly. Her smile pierced my heart. My husband, who is selfish and always prioritizes himself, has been seen through not only by me, but also by Amy, and it seems Amy has had enough of my husband. It was heartbreaking to learn of Amy's true feelings in this way, and I felt like crying. "I see. I'm sorry, Amy. I've made you go through a lot. From now on, it's going to be just the two of us. But I'll take good care of you. I really love you."
Yay!
I vowed never to let Amy be sad again. While Amy was doing her homework, I kept myself busy by reaching out to a lawyer, searching for realtors and movers online. Then I contacted my parents. When I explained the situation, they told me, "Come back home right away." Amy doesn't have to transfer schools. Moreover, if it's tomorrow morning, my father said he could borrow a truck from an acquaintance and help us move our things. I contacted the landlord and the elementary school, briefly explaining that we'd be commuting from my parents' home from now on. I decided to deal with the paperwork from the school gradually, and I called work to take a vacation day tomorrow. I want to get most things done before my husband gets home. The next day, my parents came over, and we quickly moved our stuff to my parents' home. Everything was done before my husband got home, and only his belongings were left in the apartment. I left a note saying, "We are divorced, we are now strangers," and left the apartment. When my husband came home and realized we were gone, he would undoubtedly be stunned. Serves him right. The thought of it made me feel triumphant. The reason I was able to prepare for the divorce so smoothly this time is that I had researched the necessary procedures and preparations when he cheated on me before. I had warned him then. Next time there will be no discussion, we will divorce. And we had agreed that I would keep custody and all of our shared assets. In this way, my daughter and I started our new life at my parents' house. A few days later, I received a frantic call from my mother-in-law. My husband's phone was blocked, so I suppose she called me on his behalf. He is a weak man who cries easily despite his arrogance, so he might be crying pitifully.
What are you thinking? You're divorcing even though my son didn't cheat?
She yelled so loudly it made my ears ring, and I instinctively moved my phone away from me.
Hey, Stella, it's not too late. Apologize to my son right now. He's been crying because he's hurt. Aren't you embarrassed making a big fuss over something like this?
Huh? Apologize? Me? Why? I couldn't comprehend her words, and I found myself blurting out, "Who are you?"
Huh?
She probably didn't expect such a response from me. She stopped speaking abruptly. I was surprised by my own words that just slipped out.
Hey, it's me. It's me, your mother-in-law. Come on, Stella, what's gotten into you? You can't possibly be going senile. You're still young.
No, I only have one mother. If you don't identify yourself, could this be a scam call? I decided to ride on my slip of the tongue. After all, we're strangers now that we're divorced, and there's no point in having a serious conversation with people who'd unilaterally cancel a life insurance policy.
Don't be ridiculous, Stella. If you're going to take that attitude, I have a few things to say too.
As expected, my mother-in-law was furious, but I didn't care. What are you talking about? Do you think you can do something? I had an agreement with him that if there was any issue, we'd divorce immediately, and he told me on the phone that we were getting divorced, you know? My words left her speechless. I took the opportunity to press on. If he wanted to go on a trip, he should have just talked to me about it. Why did he have to commit a crime? Is your whole family looking to end up in jail or something? I think canceling life insurance without consent qualifies as forgery, you know. That could lead to imprisonment from 3 months to 5 years, so I'm ready to fight this thoroughly. I don't want to hear about how his family has no savings or they're poor. My husband might have just done this nonchalantly. But that's precisely why I can't forgive him.
What? Hold on a minute. We can't have criminals in this family. Hey, sorry. Listen to me, please.
Perhaps surprised by the mention of imprisonment, my mother-in-law, who had been on a roll just a moment ago, suddenly became submissive, but it was too late. I hung up and blocked all calls from my husband's family. After that, my husband was so shocked by the divorce that he voluntarily left his job and became a shut-in. As for life insurance, we used a system known as the financial ADR, which resolves insurance-related disputes outside of court and successfully settled. Rachel, my sister-in-law, was disciplined and fired from her insurance company, and it even made minor headlines. Because of this, the in-laws became the talk of the town and were shamed by relatives, being told things like, "You have no common sense," and "have some shame," and it seems like they were quite uncomfortable. Both my husband and Rachel have become unable to work, and it seems they're in quite a financial crunch. I'm living freely with my daughter Amy, back at my parents' house. I want to make up for the hardship I've put Amy through by showering her with plenty of love.
My name's Tiffany. I'm 37. My husband Joseph and I have been married for 15 years. We have 2 boys aged 13 and 10. Joseph's family runs their own business, a house cleaning service started by his grandfather. All the employees there are kind-hearted. They even put on a full-on dance troupe performance at our wedding, showing some real dedication. The company's doing well, stable, and reputable. The founder, my grandfather-in-law, has since retired and is enjoying his days in a lovely retirement home. Joseph's dad, the second in command, passed away due to illness 2 years after we got married. Joseph is technically the 3rd-generation president, but he's more like a site supervisor in his day-to-day. The ones calling the shots are my mother-in-law, Kimmy, and Joseph's sister, Donna. Kimmy's the vice president, and Donna's the executive director. The founder and my father-in-law always treated their employees with respect and trained them well. That's why the staff is competent and adept at handling any issues that arise. This stability is a testament to their hard work. Joseph is doing his best to follow in their footsteps, prioritizing his employees. But Kimmy and Donna, the vice president and executive director, just don't seem to get it. They lack that sense of genuinely valuing the staff. Joseph always says, "The company runs thanks to our employees." But all Kimmy and Donna do is scoff at him. 90% of Joseph's complaints about work are about them. I don't work for the family business. I have a job at the city hall, so I don't really understand much about the family company. I wish I could wield my status as the president's wife, confront the vice president and the executive director, and tell them off for their attitudes. But that's just not possible. Especially since Joseph is the president only in name, which means I don't have any real authority to speak of. The sad news came in winter. My father had passed away. We found out about his illness in the summer. He was hospitalized at the end of autumn for treatment, but he didn't make it to the new year. I returned to my family home with my son Daniel and the others. My husband would follow later, running behind. "Why isn't Dad coming with us?" "His work's swamped during winter. He'll come afterward, don't worry." His family's business is booked solid with cleaning jobs, yet he'd make it somehow. Said he'd find a way. The boys seemed anxious. It was their first funeral. My mother, she was the face of the funeral, worn and weary. I stood by her, a heartbroken daughter, planning the ceremony, waiting for my husband's arrival. I was hurting, anxious, in need of support myself. I tried to look away from the coffin holding my father as much as possible, keeping busy for caring for Mom and the boys. That's how I was coping. My husband arrived the night before the funeral, straight from work in his work clothes. He apologized the moment he stepped in. "Sorry I'm late." "No, it's all right. You must be tired. Thanks for making it during such a busy time." "Can I pay my respects to your father?" "Yes, this way." He closed his eyes, praying earnestly to my father. Seeing him, tears just wouldn't stop. It was a relief, too, I think. That made me cry out loud, despite my age. He wrapped his arms around me gently. Then came the funeral day. The presence of my husband calmed the boys down a bit. Mother was still visibly drained, but she held on till the end. After everything, one of the boys remarked, "Strange, Grandma and Aunt Donna didn't show up, did they?" "It's a busy season. Maybe they are working hard, so Dad could be here with us." We'd stay a few more days, but my husband had to return to work the next day. "Joseph, give my regards to Kimmy and Donna." "Sure, but if they couldn't make it, they could have at least called me," he said, frustration clear in his voice. I agreed but kept silent, knowing well it was their peak season too. 3 days after my husband left, my sons and I also went back home. When I got home, I went over to my husband's family's place to say hello. I had to report that the funeral went without a hitch and to thank them for allowing my husband to attend during such a busy time. And of course, I brought a cake to the family office, but something seemed off when I arrived. Papers were scattered all over the desks. Empty takeout containers were overflowing from a trash can. And there, to my surprise, was a sleeping bag. A familiar one. It was our sleeping bag. "What's going on here?" I exclaimed in shock. Just then, my husband emerged from the bathroom, looking utterly exhausted, his hair a mess like a bird's nest. "Ah, Tiffany, you're back. How's your mother doing?" he asked wearily. "Yeah, I'm back. What happened here?" I questioned, puzzled. "Well, this..." He sighed deeply and slumped. "The employees had collected some money to buy a gift for your father," he explained. "What, really? They shouldn't have." "Oh no, this cake is definitely not enough then," I realized, feeling a bit guilty. "But wait, there's more," he continued, blinking slowly, his eyes heavy with fatigue. "With that money, Mom and Donna went on a trip," he revealed. What? I was astounded and dropped the cake box, which hit my foot. But that wasn't even the main issue. As I wiped my foot, I asked, "A trip with the money for the gift?" "Yeah, when I got back from the funeral, the house was empty. I called them, worried, and they said, 'We're on a trip with some extra money we came into.' Can you believe that? They called the money the employees had gathered extra income. I was dumbfounded. It's so inconsiderate, I couldn't believe it. I felt terrible for the employees and for your mother." He looked so downcast that I stopped wiping my foot and started to rub his back instead. My foot was still dirty, but my husband seemed to be in a worse state. They laughed it off when I told them to come back, saying I was making too much of the busy season. Sure, it's busy, but taking a trip with the money the employees collected and not even showing up at the funeral? I can't believe my own parents and sister are like that. Yeah, I'm shocked too. But it's not your fault. Don't be so hard on yourself. Why is there a sleeping bag here, though? Have you been staying here? I inquired. I had a lot of paperwork to do. There's always more during the busy season. And now with Mom and Donna gone, without finishing their work? He trailed off. So that meant my husband hadn't had a break from work since the night before the funeral until today. I rushed my husband home. While he took a nap and returned, I was in charge of the office. Answering the phones and cleaning were within my wheelhouse. Cleaning the office, I felt my anger rising. I was too shocked to be angry when I first heard my husband's story. Kimmy and Donna had disregarded their own father. They scoffed at his advice, mocked the employees' feelings, and on top of that, they were careless and irresponsible at work. I couldn't forgive such a pileup of unpleasantness. Just because I'm the wife of a normal president doesn't mean I should step back. I'll give Kimmy and Donna a piece of my mind when they return. My husband looked better after some sleep at home. That was a relief. While I was updating him on the phone calls received during his absence, a taxi stopped in front of the office. Out stepped Kimmy and Donna. "We're back. Oh, Tiffany, is the funeral over? We got the gift money. Here's a souvenir for you." I was taken aback by Kimmy's words. They got the gift money? Unaware of my grimace, Kimmy pushed the souvenir towel into my hands. "Mom, hold this. Joseph, help Mom with the luggage." Donna was acting too normal. They had been on a trip, hadn't they? Taking the gift money? Abandoning work during the busy season? What are you thinking? A whole mess of insensitivity. "Mom, Donna, I told you to cut the trip short and come back. It's crazy to take a trip with the gift money." "What? Are we still talking about that?" Kimmy twisted her face in displeasure. "The money from our employees is originally the company's money, right? It returned to us from the employees. There's no problem using it." "What? How does that make any sense?" "The money wasn't given to you, Mom. It was collected for Tiffany's father by everyone." "Exactly." "Huh? Tiffany's father has nothing to do with our company." "They all attended the wedding, so they know him." "Knowing him means they should take the company's money? That's like being parasites." "They gallivant around with the benevolence of others and call people parasites? I can't stand it anymore. What do you mean by parasites?" "Huh? Are you mad? Why?" "Why? Well, look, Tiffany, that's our money, so it's up to us to decide whether to give it to someone else or not. Understand?" "Huh?" Kimmy and Donna seemed completely unapologetic. Their faces say they don't understand why I'm angry. I'm the one confused by what Kimmy and Donna are saying. More than a lack of appreciation for their employees, these two lack common sense. It's like talking to aliens. It sends chills down my spine, how they've managed to run a business up until now. What should I do? Is there nothing to be done? But I refuse to suffer in silence. As I ponder what to do, my husband takes a deep breath as if he's made up his mind and begins to speak. "Mom, Donna, I can't do this anymore. I can't trust you two. If I stay any closer, I fear I'll end up despising you. So I'm leaving the company." What are you talking about? You can't do that. This company has been handed down through our family." Our grandchild will take over, so you can't quit. Tiffany, you'd be troubled if Joseph quit his job, wouldn't you? Our child's future is already decided for them. If my children choose that path for themselves, that's fine, but I hate having it decided for them without their input. And my husband, it must be torture to continue working with someone you can't trust, especially if it's family. I can't say there aren't worries like, what will we do, or what about the income? But more than that, it's harder for both my husband and me to keep struggling here unnecessarily. No, it won't be a problem. My firm reply left Kimmy and Donna with their eyes wide open. They were surprised at our decision, but they didn't offer a single word of apology. It's infuriating, but it also gave me a sense of closure. I'll become the breadwinner instead of my husband. My husband, having left his family's company, started his own. Using the knowledge he had accumulated from years of work, he started a house cleaning business. The first year was tough, but his meticulous work and consistent effort paid off, and the business's reputation grew, leading to increased performance. By the second year, we had reservations nearly every day, and by the third year, we were hiring employees. By the fourth year of starting the business, my time as the main earner came to an end. Everything was going smoothly. Our children looked up to their father with respect. It was really good that we left my husband's family home. During that time, we received sad news. My grandfather-in-law had passed away. He died peacefully in his sleep in a nursing home, discovered by the staff. Since my husband's independence, we had been almost estranged from his family, but we couldn't ignore the funeral of the grandfather-in-law. It was his teaching to value your employment that made my husband the man he is today. We got ready and headed to the funeral. The funeral was full of familiar faces. Relatives, of course, neighbors, and employees of my husband's family company were there. Everyone knew we were almost estranged from my husband's family home. Being glanced at made us feel a bit uncomfortable. As we stood quietly on the sidelines, Kimmy spotted her husband and approached him. "Joseph, you're here. Have you said hello to Grandpa?" "Yeah, first thing when I arrived." "Tiffany's here too, I see." "Yes, it's been a while." Not wanting to mention that Kimmy didn't attend my father's funeral, I refrained from bringing it up and instead greeted her. "Did you bring a gift? Have you given it yet?" "Yeah, I did. Hopefully Mom and Donna won't think about spending the gift money on another trip, right?" "Let's not talk about that now." Kimmy said that firmly and then whispered to her husband. "By the way, how's work going? If you're making enough, could you lend some to Mom and the others?" "Huh? Are the funeral expenses high?" "That's part of it, but could you just lend us $10,000 for now?" $10,000? I can't just come up with that kind of money on the spot. What a letdown. I thought I could count on you." She snapped and stormed off. The boys were in shock. Understandably so. Being confronted with such a demand would startle anyone, let alone a child. We decided to take them to the grocery store outside to distract them, where we ran into Kevin, a longtime employee at my husband's family company. "Joseph, long time no see. Thank you for coming to Grandfather's funeral." After exchanging greetings with Kevin, the conversation continued. "Man, ever since you left, our company has been struggling. The young folks keep quitting, leaving us only us old-timers. Really, I hope it's not because of something Mom and Donna did. No. It's more to do with the revised pay scale and bonus cuts. Those two seem to lack a sense in business management." Kevin chuckled weakly. "Well, it's the same folks who think it's fine to spend the employees' salaries, essentially our money, however they like." "Ever since the business started going downhill, the vice president and the manager have become harsher. They used to be different, but now they snap over the smallest things. Just between us, everyone's saying it's better to leave such a company. That's rough." Their conversation seemed like it could go on forever. I settled the bill with the boys and decided to head back to the funeral before my husband. Exiting the grocery store, I saw two of them still deep in conversation inside. My husband finally returned just before the funeral service was about to begin. I was worried you wouldn't make it in time. Sorry, there was a lot to catch up on. Listen, Tiffany, there's something I want to talk to you about. Just as he was about to start, the funeral began. It wasn't the right time for a heart-to-heart. He whispered, "Later," with a look of determination. The service went by without a hitch. The empty feeling that follows a funeral never gets easier, no matter how many times you go through it. The boys seemed just as melancholic, sticking close by me, not wanting to stray. Tiffany, what about what I was trying to say earlier? Oh yeah, what about that? I'm thinking of hiring more employees. Really? That's great. Means the business is doing well. Yeah, so I'm considering moving to a bigger office. I'll be buying more equipment too, which might mean my income will temporarily decrease. Are you planning to expand that quickly? Isn't it a bit too rushed? Even if you hire more staff, it takes more time to learn the ropes. Seems a bit reckless to me. It was an unusually assertive move for my husband. He's usually far from reckless. What's gotten into him? No need for training. In fact, I'll be the one learning from them. What? Remember the person I was talking to at the grocery store? They're going to transfer to our company. And while we were talking, some other employees joined in. 5 of them are coming to work with us, he said excitedly. No way. It's true. Look over there. He pointed, and there were Kimmy and Donna, chatting with a group of 5. Kimmy stood with her mouth hanging open, looking dumbfounded. Donna had twisted her face into something devilish. I whispered to my husband, "Are they discussing the same thing over there?" Yeah. Said she'd yell and wouldn't have a proper conversation in public, so they'd talk right after the funeral. Wow. I looked again at the group. Sure enough, they were familiar faces. The ones who had recreated the dance perfectly, unforgettable. They were going to join my husband's company, the main force behind his family's business. The stability would be on a whole new level. Unconsciously, a smile crept on my face. Donna, eagle-eyed, caught my loosened expression and glared at me with the eyes of a murderer. What's so funny, you thief? Taking our brother away from us? And now our employees too? What grudge do you have against us to do this, you devil? I couldn't comprehend why Donna screamed that. As my eyes widened, Kimmy's face lit up. Oh my, it's you again. Of course, it has to be you. Otherwise, why would these people say they're leaving our company? You must have said something to them. We'll sue for damages. What? I don't recall doing any such thing. Stunned, my husband spoke up on my behalf to Kimmy and her cohorts. Mom, Donna, enough is enough. Tiffany has nothing to do with this. Those 5 left the company because their salaries were cut due to poor management. What are you talking about? Suggesting poor management? How rude. We're discussing why everyone is resigning. It's partly because of the terrible way Mom and Donna treat their employees. They fly off the handle based on their mood. It's impossible to have a conversation. And I've heard they threaten pay cuts if anyone disagrees with them. What? We've never done that. There were still relatives and neighbors at the funeral. Kimmy panicked at the mention of poor management and intimidation. But panicking now was useless, because it was the truth. I heard they were planning to leave, so I asked if they'd join my company. I couldn't stand to leave Grandpa and Dad's cherished employees in such a terrible workplace. The job offers at my place were all my idea. Tiffany wasn't involved. That's impossible. It's definitely her fault. That woman is to blame. Stop making her out to be the villain. Deep down, you know the truth. The villains are Mom and Donna. As my husband said this, Donna jumped up in frustration. Kimmy collapsed to her knees. It seemed that her hopes of extorting money from me had been dashed. Kimmy, unable to give up, resorted to a tearful plea. You ingrate! You don't care if Grandpa's company goes under. Don't you feel sorry for Mom? But my husband stated firmly, I'm sure Grandpa would hate to see his employees crushed more than the company failing. Dad would feel the same. The determined look he had before the funeral began was a sign of his resolve to protect the employees, even if it meant ruining the family business. People who were talking with Kimmy and Donna came over to my husband. They lined up behind him, straightening their spines and looking squarely at Kimmy and Donna. Their glazes were filled with determination. It was heartening, and I felt a sense of responsibility. For these people and for my grandfather-in-law and father-in-law, I was determined to support the company until it was back on track. That's what I decided in my heart. Afterwards, my husband's income took a hit. It was inevitable after suddenly adding 5 people. But these weren't novices. They were seasoned veterans, reliable and battle-hardened. With these immediate assets, my husband's company grew rapidly. 6 months after hiring the 5, my husband's income was back. And hearing the rumors, employees and former employees of my husband's family's business began to flock to him. Now my husband's company boasts 3 stores. On the other hand, his family's business closed down. Kim and Donna just didn't have the knack for management. They took their seats for granted, never bothered to learn, and were quite reckless with money. When my husband, who had been their restraint, left the company, the management quickly deteriorated. 3 years after his departure, the business was beyond saving. The resignation of a key employee dealt the final blow, and the business was driven to closure. There was significant debt, but that was somehow managed by selling off the family company building and assets. Kimmy and Donna now rent a small apartment together and make ends meet with part-time jobs. It seems they've finally realized that a paycheck isn't something that comes from owning a company. My husband's company is planning to open its 4th store. He's expanding the business smoothly. It seems that the sense for business that Kimmy and Donna lacked, my husband had all along. When I mentioned this, he humbly said, "It's not me. It's all thanks to the employees." I reflected on that. I almost forgot what's truly important. Speaking of reflection, I still regret exposing our sons to that ugly scene at the funeral. However, they remember their father's impressive demeanor more than the petty adult quarrels. They hope to work with Dad in the future. If that's what my children desire of their own volition, I want to support them. I'd be happy if the company my husband started continues to thrive through the 2nd and 3rd generations. Can I help out Dad's company during spring break? Sure, after you start high school. My husband smiled with a mix of joy and embarrassment.